Lots of traffic from the Conservatives, from Reform to the Conservatives. I put it to you, Mr Stride, we're hearing voices that there's more to come. More MPs will be heading to Reform. Will that include you?
Oh, I have absolutely no intention of getting involved with Reform. And let me explain why, Leah, because I think this is important. So the area that I look after, from my party's point of view, obviously, is the economy. Why would I want to join up in any way with a party that peddles fantasy economics, that tells everybody that they can have everything that they want, lots of tax cuts and spending more on welfare and so on, without a proper plan as to how that's going to be delivered? That's a very dangerous approach to take, actually. We've seen where that leads in the past. So Reform will say, we'll take everybody earning up to £20,000 out of tax altogether. And yet the IFS tells us that would cost about £80 billion, or about half what we spend on the National Health Service with its 1.5 million employees every year. They have to explain seriously how they're going to find that money, and they're not doing so. So
wow.
I would have nothing to do with a party that's irresponsible in that way.
Well, Danny Kruger was one of those who also said that Reform spend like drunken sailors. What do you think changed for him? Because he was a very serious voice within the Conservative Party.
Yeah, I'm sorry to lose Danny, but I'm completely bemused, and I think your question kind of sums it up in a way. Danny has been very critical, as I have, of Reform's economic policies. There is an area in which I think he has common ground with them, in that he wants to abolish what's called the two-child cap within the welfare system, which means spending billions more on welfare, which we don't think is right as a party. But absolutely, he's made a number of very disparaging comments about Reform, including that fiscally, when it comes to spending money, they are like drunken sailors, and those are his words, not mine.
But I wonder if we reflect on how painful a moment this really is for the Conservative Party, and worries about it potentially being a snowballing effect for you.
So look, as I say, nobody wants to lose members of their team. I mean, that's a simple fact. And let's see what happens in the coming weeks and months. But what I know is happening for certain is that we are beginning to re-establish a connection with the electorate. You've seen us as an effective opposition. Look at the pressure that we've been putting the Prime Minister under over the Peter Mandelson, Jeffrey Epstein affair. We've got an emergency debate this afternoon in the Commons to hold the government to account. The tax affairs of Angela Rayner, the then Deputy Prime Minister. We were instrumental, actually, in shining a light of truth on that, and her resignation followed. We're doing a lot of work in exposing the crazy economic policies that this government is pursuing, holding the government to account on small boats and so on, whilst also doing that work in the background to come up with solutions for the really difficult problems that our country faces, so that when we come to the next general election, we have the right programme in place.
But it does speak to some of the polls suggesting that Reform are way ahead of Labour, the government and the Conservatives. This must be a bit of a worry if there's rumours of more defections from the Conservative Party to Reform. Are conversations happening about a potential, at some point in the future, deal with Reform to see off Labour?
Well, no. For the reasons I've given, this is a party that peddles populist economics and populist ideas that haven't been properly thought through. They, of course, are getting traction at the moment because you've got a Labour Party that is palpably messing up the economy and making a lot of mistakes on net migration and legal migration and so on, deeply unpopular. We suffered our greatest electoral defeat at the last election. That was only a year ago. And not surprisingly, there is this vacuum in the middle, and a populist party has stepped in as none of the above, no track record to criticise and so on. But the light of truth is going to be shone on Reform now for going forward. And of course, what we know is there probably won't be a general election now for another 4 years, and the poll that will matter will be what happens on general election day. And, for Nigel Farage to keep spinning those plates and all the glitter and fireworks, to keep doing that for 4 years in the way that he is, I think is quite a challenge.
Do you think?
So let's see.
Will Kemi Badenoch still be the leader in 4 years?
Oh, without doubt.
Okay.
She has a very clear sense of purpose. She knows exactly what she's doing. And above all, and this is something that not enough people focus on, actually, she's incredibly resilient. This is the toughest job in politics, being leader of the opposition. And she's doing it very well.
You didn't ever consider leadership?
Well, I ran for the leadership, so I more than considered it. I tried to become the leader of the party, but that wasn't to be.
Okay.
And I'm very happy that we have strong leadership now, and I'm playing my role in the team.
So tell us about this emergency debate then.
OK, so we put in yesterday, David Davis, supported by Kemi and our Chief Whip and others on our side, asked the Speaker in the Chamber, could we have an emergency debate on this whole issue of Peter Mandelson, what the Prime Minister knew when he stood up at the dispatch box and defended Peter Mandelson as somebody who has described himself as a best pal of a convicted paedophile. And we want to establish the truth as to what the Prime Minister knew prior to that point, because there was a lot of information out there via Bloomberg, which was circulating around Number 10 and the Foreign Office. And I think our suspicion is that the Prime Minister knew rather more than he suggested when he stood up in the court.
And if that's the case, you want him to step down?
I think he should do, under those circumstances, for sure. But the first thing to do, to be fair to everybody and to the public, is to have complete transparency. So we will be calling today for that documentation, that correspondence, the vetting documentation when Peter Mandelson was appointed to that particular position, for that to be brought to Parliament. It could be through a select committee, it could be done in a delicate and measured way, because some of this may be sensitive, but nonetheless, we think we need to have transparency.